Hey, welcome to Family by Design. So glad you joined us on this episode for exposing feminism. And not only are we exposing it, we hope to totally destroy the ungodly mentality that has crept into our society about women being lesser for staying home, taking care of their family, doing things like that. You're going to be blessed and encouraged as you listen.
Like to start a conversation about exposing a lie that this culture and this season and this hour has really just bit onto, which is feminism. And I believe that we're starting to see that it is being exposed and that there is a shift that is coming back. And, you know, women are not, they're empowered to be women and be okay with that. And I'm not talking about like empowerment, like woman power, and we need to do all the things. Like we have these rights and we can play guy sports and we can, you know, do all these things. But what I'm talking about is like taking back this place in this position where we love to be wives and to raise our children.
You love to be really feminine. Not be involved with like a feminine movement.
Yes.
Which we know is feminism. And
right.
So here's the thing about what this, and because some people could be hearing this and think, well, are you not for women? Actually, we're more for women than the feminists are.
Yes.
Because we have a proper view, and I wouldn't say that all Christians do, but I would say Christians as a whole have a more accurate view of womanhood.
Yes.
And anybody that, and also to have heard people be like, you're a man, you don't know. The same people that would say that would say they can't even define what a woman is. And so,
well,
anyways,
and honestly,
men, all you have to do is know the Bible. All you have to do is know the Lord, and you can understand what a woman is supposed to be like, what real true feminism is. And so here's the lie that needs to be, exposed in this whole thing, is that it's lesser.
Yes.
Culture has said that it's lesser for women to do things that God created them to do than to have a career. And it's like, wait a second, when did birthing a baby, when did being able to conceive a child in the womb and birthing a baby out of you become less than having a career? Mm-hmm. And we're not against women working. There's actually scriptural precedent for women working, in my opinion, in Proverbs 31.
Right.
So we're not against that, but we're just saying that shouldn't be a replacement of the highest call.
That's right.
Which is to be a wife is an incredible honor, mm-hmm. and to be able to be a mother is an incredible honor. Mm-hmm. And here's one of the things I want to say is that I heard it said like this a few years ago, and this really stuck with me. When you take a group of people and you don't allow them access to things that they should have, mm-hmm. when they fight to take it back, they're going to fight to take it back, and they're going to go further than what they should.
That's right.
There should have never been a point in our history where black people were not allowed to vote.
Right.
And where they, not just voting, but slavery and everything, that should have never been there. It's a black eye on our American history, right? And so I didn't mean to pun it like that, but it's a bad mark in our history. And so what happened is that rights got restored, but now you got people rioting in the streets and doing. Of course, that's settled down, but a couple of years ago, it was really terrible. Mm-hmm. And marching in the name of like, we want rights, but really what they wanted is, evil powers that be wanted to destroy our country.
Right.
And so but they did it in that name, and people that realized the injustice that was done there, they took it to a place it shouldn't have been. Well, now you've got the same thing happening with feminism.
Right.
And has been happening, but has continued to happen, is that women should have never been denied things like voting and they should have never been. They should have been treated as equals.
Right.
But understand that they're different, but they're equals, and they should have had the same rights and stuff. So now you've got women that are standing up and marching for the right to kill their own baby in their womb because they're so deceived. A people that are oppressed will always take it further once they get set free. They'll always take it further and demand things that are actually ungodly.
That's right.
History tells us that.
That's right. And so, like, there is and it's been so slight. And like I would have said growing up that I was not like part of this feminist movement, and that I thought it was honorable to stay at home and, just do the things that it is. And like, honestly, if you read Proverbs 31, it says, that she's, a wife and a mother, that she manages her household well, and then that she is in the marketplace too. But it wasn't that she didn't manage her household well. She cared for the needs of her household. She made sure that was taken care of. And being in the marketplace then complemented her household.
Right.
It didn't overrun
That's
and
right.
overpower
It's good.
everything, because there was this need of, who are you to say that I have to stay at home and that I'm going to do whatever it is that you tell me to do? Because and that's like where this play has come, is that like there was like this overpowerment and like this oppression that came upon women, and then they wanted to break free from that. And then, like you said, when you're trying to break free from that, then you're like, well, I'm not going to stay at home and take care. Like, that's lesser, that's beneath me. And it was so slight. And actually now that when your eyes are open to it, when you watch, TV shows or listen to certain things that I watched when I was younger growing up, I see all this downplay of the women always, I think the right word is subverting power over their husbands, talking down to them, being mean to them, saying, I don't care, like acting like I don't care what it is that you say, because I'm going to do whatever it is that I want to do. Like, all throughout these things, and then like working and making a career and putting children beneath you. And once you get all the things done, then maybe you'll have kids. And then when you have kids, then you're going to put them in daycare, and you're going to do somebody else, or you're going to get a nanny, or whatever it is, put them in school. Like, somebody else is going to take care of them, because you still are going to work or do all the things that it is that you want to do. And instead of them being like a blessing and a nourishment to your life, and the selfless act that we get to have as a mother and as parents to raise children, to create legacy, we think that it's somehow lesser. And it was so subtle that whenever I remember us having this conversation, because we went back, a long way, and I was wanting to go to college, and I was wanting to pursue career and do things. And really what I said is like I want career. And you said, well, I want a wife that's going to, take pride, like their home and children are going to be their priority. And I was like, who are you to tell me that? I don't think I ever said that to you.
So you would say that feminism affected you and you didn't even know it.
Yes, It did. And it really made you, because then here's the thing that happens if you don't know that it's in your mind and it has been embedded into your thinking. What's the word? Covertly, you start getting, what's the word? You start getting frustrated or upset or contentious when you stay at home and you take care of kids, because you're like,
because there's like an underlying attitude there.
Yes, of like, I'm having to give up everything so that I can raise you.
And here's
and
one
it
of the
creates a space between you and your family.
And here's one of the most basic things that biology even shows that it's right for women to nurture the children in particular.
Right, yeah.
Is that they're the only ones, when a baby comes out of the womb, they're the ones that are wired up to be able to feed that baby.
Yeah.
If you think like now people can, they'll use formula and, lesser ways of doing things, but they find ways of whatever. But just, back in the day before baby formula and people, some people, whatever, I don't want to get into all that. But the point is that you could take a baby out of the womb and the mother can instantly start feeding that.
Yes.
How First of all, that's incredible.
Yes, it is.
Second of all, how did anybody ever get to the point to think that it's not the woman's job, the primary job, to take care of that child?
And nurture
I mean,
it
it's
and
right
love it
there.
and take care of it.
The baby comes out of the woman takes the baby and instantly begins to nurture that baby with her own body. How did it ever come to a place to where people believed a lie that, like, well, actually, that's not the mom's job?
Well,
and we're not against people working, and we know, like, single moms and people end up in situations and
Right.
things happen. Like
I worked for a long
Yeah,
time.
you did work for a long time, and so we
Still
are
do.
for people, and we are not against people making decisions that's best for them. But just coming back, just stripping this whole thing away, exposing the feminism that has lied and robbed and caused women to feel like that they're lesser because they're not having a career, making a bunch of money and whatever. That's ridiculous. That stuff does not make people happy. That's not where
Correct.
real true joy and happiness comes from. And it actually is destructive to families when you have, and I've seen situations where the dad will stay at home and the mom's got a great career and she goes and works. I'm not saying that you can't do that. I would say that is not fitting for God's natural design, for God's design in this. But I'm also not saying that couldn't be something that the Lord could work in and could lead a family to work in that way. I'm not anybody's judge, but just strip it down to bare bones. Women are built by God to take care of the family. They're built by God for that. Why should we fight against God's design?
Right. Well, and
The first step would be to get people to fight against it is to get them to begin to question whether there even is a God. And we
yes.
see that happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like really it's to annihilate the family unit, and probably, like, if you really want to get down to it, like population control, because if women are thinking I'm going to do my own career and do everything that it is that I want to do, they're not going to have more children,
Yeah.
or they'll have.
This is more diabolical than what people realize.
It is, and it's so subtle. Well, right now in our culture, it isn't so subtle, but for many years, it had been so subtle. Like I said, put in TV shows and different things, marketing, whatever, to get that inside of you, so that here's what I was going to say. The word resentment was built up in you before you even conceived or carried a child, because the reason why, well, first off, if you don't think that a child inside of you is life, then it's easy to throw it aside. But like we've been taught, so women, you need to hear this, and even men, like we've been taught to resent even growing a child on the inside of us, so that whenever it comes out, you're still resenting them because they're causing, and I say that in like parentheses, they're causing you to live a lesser life, in quotes, not parentheses. They're causing you to live a lesser life. They're causing you to be lesser than what you should be. Well, that is a lie. And I truly believe right now that we're starting to see a great shift in this feminist movement.
We are. And I want to say this, that I heard, and I'm not going to say who it was because I haven't verified the source yet, but who I heard it from, I trust. But I always do my homework first before I say something. But one of the most respected people in our life, as far as on like a bigger platform that we love, he gave a word, and he said that this wokeism and all this LGBTQRISTUV WXYZ alphabet people garbage and all that stuff that goes with all that, that by 2026, it is going to be like it was never even a thing.
Wow.
He gave a word and said that.
Wow.
And I'm going to go back and verify it and get a little bit more on that.
Huge.
But that was so encouraging when I heard
beautiful.
that. And so, but it's good for people to see the disease that has.
Yes, it is like a disease.
There are different manifestations of the real disease, which foundation of all the stuff we're seeing is evil. The bad stuff we're seeing is evil, but then it comes wrapped up in this Marxist ideology. There's playbook there's playbooks for this kind of stuff, for Marxism and it coming into a country and how they disrupt social norms, how they get people to have race wars. I actually, generally speaking, I think for the most part, I think that you just want to take black people and white people, and even the word race being introduced, which was not had not been there at one point. But think black people and white people. I think, generally speaking, I think that most of them care about each other.
Yes.
I think I'm not saying that there isn't really some bad stuff. There is some really bad stuff,
Sure,
and there
yes.
still is.
Yeah.
But as a whole, it's not near as bad as what they've tried to blow it up and make it out to be.
Right.
You know, and so there's all this stuff. There's playbooks for this, and then part of that also is this rise of feminism to try and like what has worked for so long in our country. And again, I'm not saying there wasn't problems with it. There was definitely problems. There was problems with the way that women were treated in our country.
Sure.
I'm 100% on board with that. But now they've taken that problem and it's been magnified.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful that people marched for, the original feminists, I think were probably good and had a little bit of good in them of saying, listen, women need to be able to have the right to vote. And I agree with that. I mean, they're American citizens.
Right.
They should have never been denied that right. That's stupid. But then then the enemy came in, and again, there's like this playbook of getting everything to move towards, and now we're getting into other kind of stuff, but one world government and all this nonsense that goes on, having a globalist agenda move into our country. And if you can divide and redefine what manhood and womanhood is, you will totally tear apart our country. Yeah. And I thank God that we have some resolute voices. I'm one of those voices. We have resolute voices that will say, no, a man has a penis and a woman has a vagina. It's real simple. Look at your plumbing. And I can say that on this platform, which I'm thankful. I feel like I don't get edited and whatever, and I don't have to worry about. Right. Sorry if you have any kids around. But hey, if your kids, they need to know. They need to know. They need to not be ashamed of how God made them. But man, people have to stand up and be resolute about these things and just say it. I don't have to sit and talk to some guy in high heels with makeup on who's acting like a complete clown is saying that I'm wrong for defining what a woman is.
Right.
That guy he needs a demon cast out of him, and he needs to put some pants back on and go be a man.
Amen.
And I don't have to allow that crap to influence my people, my house, my church, our community. I'm going to have a voice in that kind of stuff. And we have a lot of voices in our country that are speaking up and saying things. And I'm so grateful, so thankful. And I believe this stuff is coming to an end. But this thing of feminism, so then it needs to be balanced, because when the pendulum swings, it almost always swings too far the other way.
Right.
And what we're starting to see is people that are leading this thing going back, no, women's bodies are made to birth children. We should be taking care. And now it's like you see some people and they're like, oh, we need to live like, not very many people, but some weird stuff like, oh, we just need to live in the woods and just only have babies. Like, it's like, no, you can enjoy other thing in life or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And people they don't know how to find a balance in things.
Right.
And so what we always want to do is help people find a balance in things.
That's right.
Yeah.
That it isn't, the question
Not a balance of good and evil, but find the good and then balance it properly.
Right.
Yeah.
First, know that it is not a lesser thing to want to stay at home and take care of your family.
That's right.
And it should be a desire in our hearts, especially like even as little girls. You see little girls and they want to play house and they want to have the babies and they want to take care of it. Like that was embedded in us from our birth.
Okay, so feminism would say that was a societal structure, that it got structured to make little girls play with Barbie dolls or whatever, so that they would grow up and take care of their families. And so they actually say, we're saying the girls can play with trucks, which the girls can play with trucks, that's fine. But they're saying they need to do that so they can really just be who they want to be. And it's not a something that society has structured. It's normal. If you take boys, because we have all boys, you take boys And you get boys and you put them out in the backyard, and we've done this with our friends and stuff. Watch them out in the backyard. The next thing you know, they're wrestling. They're making guns out of sticks. If they have any kind of car or anything, they're making car noises. You know what I'm saying? It's what boys do. If you take little girls and you put them together, they're going to be playing house.
Yeah.
They're going to make if you take them outside, like stripped down to nothing, not even have a doll, they'll find out how to make a doll out of leaves or something, and
or they'll
next
cook
thing you know,
mud
they're
pies.
Yeah, it's in boys to be a certain way and girls to be a certain way. I like what Mr. Rogers said. Boys are boys from the beginning. Girls are girls from the beginning. You ever heard him sing that?
Yeah, no, yes.
Yeah, he sang that. I thought, we need to go back and listen to Mr. Rogers.
Right.
He had some wisdom there.
That's right.
And so it is not, society hasn't been trained. When you look at like the past 100 years, and I'm not saying it's been before feminism came in. Let's just say in our country from 1900 to 1950. Okay, before feminism really came in, we were not doing things wrong.
Correct.
I'm not saying we were doing everything right, but as a whole, we were doing things correct. We were doing things correctly.
Yeah.
The men were, there was a lot of war going on during that time, but the men were at home. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, the women were at home. The men were working jobs and taking care of their family.
Right. And there wasn't any shame in that. And so that's what the world had tried to do, is place shame in you thinking that you were odd or lesser if you just wanted to be a mom. That is I
have so much I want to say right now.
I know. Like it's a beautiful thing, and I know you feel very strongly about, this and how the world has tried to misguide and mislead and adjust and get things off course. But I truly feel what I was saying is that we're seeing the shift back where women are like, actually, they're beginning to have this desire again of seeing the moms that are at home and they're and listen, I don't know I don't know who tricked you to think that being at home and taking care of your household and your kid was like this easy job. But
oh my gosh.
It is so...
I've done it a few days. It's terrible.
It's so much work.
It is a lot of work. It's not terrible, but it's a lot of work.
So rewarding when your children come to an age and they launch from your house and you have poured yourself into them in such a good way. You've loved them and you've nurtured them.
The privilege that moms have with their children.
That's right.
Incredible.
It is a privilege. It is an honor and it is a privilege. And it is a selfless sacrifice.
Yeah.
That's really what it boils down to, is that women are like, I don't want to sacrifice. I just want to do whatever it is that I want to do. I mean, who doesn't want to do whatever it is? Like that's easy. Let's just fulfill the lusts of our flesh and do whatever it is that we want to do. And I'm not saying like going and working and like earning a living and different things. That's hard work also. But then you come home and you still have to manage your household and take care of these things. And it's just exhausting. And you have women who are just exhausted because they're grinding things out all the time. And who suffers? The children. The children suffer.
You're saying when women put their efforts into other things, you
yes,
yeah,
and so like I'm seeing it.
And there's a balance. Here we are making a podcast about it.
Yes,
right. So
there's a balance, and I'm seeing it, and I love it. And actually, I could feel like this whole feministic thing like be ripped out of me. That I didn't even, like I said, know was in me, that I wanted a career. And I thought it was lesser to stay.
You wanted a career over traditional family.
Yeah.
As God sees it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to work.
Not as a societal structure.
Right. I wanted to do these things because I thought it was my right. And I wanted to make something of myself. And I wanted to be, well, really, for me, what it boiled down to is that I wanted to always be able to take care of myself and not have to rely on anybody else. That's for me why it is that I went into, getting a job and a career and
Yeah.
education and different things. And it's not wrong to be educated. Like, I feel like right now, homeschooling our kids, like, I'm getting the best education of my life. Like, I'm learning things and growing and being stretched, and it's so much fun. But I can tell this moment where this was ripped out of me, and it became such a joy and such an honor and such a privilege that I got to be at home. And I got to take care of my kids, and I got to oversee and manage my household, and that it really was the fulfillment that we honestly longed for.
Amen. That's good. That's good. I believe this is going to enlighten some people, bless some women that are at home. If they ever feel like they're not doing enough, man, even if you don't have any kids, just to take care of the home and a lot of the things that go with it, that's a lot of work. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of work. But then even if you have just one kid, listen, moms, wives, you are a blessing doing what you're doing. And There's no condemnation if you're working, none whatsoever. But understand you are a blessing, and the fact that you can help impart into the most important people in your life it's the greatest honor.
Yeah.
And you can literally be with, if you're you homeschool them or something, be with your kids all day long and impart godly things into them, whatever else. So it's great.
Yes.
Amen.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Family by Design. I pray that you were blessed as you listened to the word of the Lord for your life today. I want to encourage you to go on and leave us a review and a 5-star rating. If this ministry is blessing you, go to our website at www.wartmen.org. There you can find more resources, and you can also consider partnering with this ministry. If you like what we're doing, we just pray that you would at least join us in prayer and consider supporting us financially as we take the gospel deep into the hearts of people. Gospel preached, hearts awakened, and nations reformed.